Hi, welcome to Elijah's Prophetic Cup. It's Bonnie Manning or Tekoa Manning, and I'm here with my co-host, Crystal Perez. And today we're going to be talking again about gardening and a particular flower plant called morning glories, and also the twisting serpent Leviathan or Leviathan. And this spirit is alive and well right now, and I am watching it just completely storm through, twisting everything as it is going across our path. But I am going to start off by reading a passage, and it's from Matthew 22, and it's verse 15. And it says, "Then the Pharisees, having gone out, took counsel on how they could entangle the Messiah or Yeshua in his words." And some of the versions will say trap him in his words. In other versions of different biblical texts, it will say they were trying to find a way to twist his words. So there's a lot of this twisting going on. Are you seeing it?
I am. I am spawning it in my garden in the most awkward of places. Those that might not be familiar, morning glories they're vines, and they grow very easily, and they will grow wherever. You can toss it and it will grow. You don't have to necessarily bury it. It'll just grow. I had some growing in my lawn. I had some, they're everywhere. And when it rained, they just sprouted up. And to some people, that's amazing and it's great. Let them grow where they're at. And I would agree. But because I'm bringing more structure into my garden, I want to make sure that there's room for my other plants to grow. Morning glories are very invasive. It doesn't take much for them to grow, and they need room. And if they're not trained properly on a trellis or whatever for them to vine up on, they will go on the nearest plant, twist around it, and make it bow.
Choke it out?
Yes. They will take up all the light. They will take up everything. So if there's baby plants growing and there's a morning glory, it doesn't stand a chance.
But their name is so beautiful. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but morning glories. Anyway, yes. Continue.
Well, during this little season of me having to uproot these beautiful plants, it's like I can hear Abba saying, before the morning, M-O-R-N, there's M-O-U-R-N. And I'm like, oh, and it is a grief to pull these beauties out. But if they're not properly trained, they're a nuisance. And also they drop seeds that look like mini grenades. My kids actually pick them up and throw them at each other, and no wonder we have them everywhere.
Okay. The children.
Yes. And I'm like, no, like, you don't know what you're planting. It has to be contained. Otherwise it's considered invasive. Even though it's a floral and it's beautiful, they don't have an aroma.
Really?
Yeah, they're not aromatic. They're just beautiful. And that's not a bad thing. They have a purpose, right? But if not properly contained, they twist and they twirl around things that they should not. So they have to have a trellis where they can bloom and flourish and we can all see their beauty. But if they don't have that, they will take over everything. I had to pull them out of my cucumbers. I went and planted some around a dead tree I have in my yard, and we put a trellis up, and then they're beautiful. They're beautifying this dead tree. They're bringing life to this tree, but I could not have them with my cucumbers or my tomatoes. Couldn't have them on my beans or in my flower patch because they took over.
Wow. So their glory was outshining everyone else.
Yes.
So it's so interesting to me that something named morning glory with so much beauty can so represent each and every one of us when we get caught up in ourselves and we're seeing ourselves as better than everyone when we're supposed to be seeing everyone else as if they are better, right? And we're supposed to be taking the least important seat at the table. I mean, Yeshua says, don't take the best seat, right? Because if you take the best seat, no, you take the least important seat, and then if they want to move you up to the important seat, then that's fine. But so many times I think we get caught up in that morning glory, and we forget that it's really about our personal walk with him and with Elohim, and how we're acting behind the scenes and with our families and with our spouses, and not these accolades of men or all of these desires the world presents. So
I agree. This it's not making room or space for others to grow and mature. You know, guilty. There's times that I've learned something new and I just ran with what I learned, and I wanted to teach everybody, and I took over the room, and nobody could ask the questions. Nobody could throw in what they wanted to, their facet or understanding of it. I just completely took over. And even though it was beautiful, I choked them out. It was a twisting, and it was due to my own glory and not his. So that morning, it can be both. It could be the morning of the sunshine, or it could be the grief that we cause somebody else because we don't see them. We don't make space for them. We know more than they do. I have to teach you this in all my beauty, which kind of makes me think about first the natural, then the spiritual. Well, if there's this twisting, even though it's beautiful, what can it look like, and when it's not so beautiful?
Yeah, and the thing I was also noticing, one of the things you brought up earlier, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you were saying that this twists so much, it gets around the plants and everything, that it wants them to bow.
Yes, I have a sunflower, and it's all by itself. It just somehow got there, the birds or whatever, maybe from last year. And there's a morning glory that is growing over it. You don't even see that there's a sunflower there because it's totally overtaken by the morning glory. However, this sunflower, it's got a big stem, so it won't, it's like it refuses to bow. It's still turning its head to find the sun, even though it's engulfed by this twisting.
So we can be looking at others and thinking they're not humble. They really, they need to bow their head lowly because they're not humble. And so, so many times we can start twisting.
Yes.
And which brings us back to Leviathan or Leviathan, that twisting serpent. So.
Yes, I agree. I wanted to go to, can you see it? This is your book.
Yes, it is.
And I've been studying, I felt the need to go in and study it a little bit more this season. And I found myself landed on page 16, where there's a description of the Leviathan, and it says, a transliterated Hebrew word, Leviathan or Leviathan, means coiling and twisting the truth. And then it says, picture a serpent coiled up and ready to strike. This spirit will twist everything. I found it interesting with the verse that you read previously, and the concept of what the Father was showing me with these morning glories. But I do want to go back into Leviathan, because I think this is another facet of twisting that is a lot more obvious than the morning glory.
Yes, and this, the one thing about the spirit is it seems to pull around, and it doesn't stop and listen to what a person is saying. It doesn't see them properly, and it rushes in like those morning glories to just snuff it out, right?
Mhm.
And they kept looking for ways to twist the Messiah's words or entrap him or catch him saying something wrong. Well, when you want to catch someone saying something wrong, you're always listening and looking for errors in them, right?
Right.
You're not looking for any good. So I love that you were able to present the morning glories with their beauty and also how they may need to be, how did you word it?
They need to be trained properly.
Yes.
They need to have their own space to grow. Otherwise they'll take over. Yeah. And I also think that with that whole, the twisting and the coiling of things, a lot of times we don't listen with the intent to understand what the person is saying. We listen with the intent to respond or react. So we're never really hearing the heart of the individual. We're just waiting for that moment to strike so we can tell them what we think they're saying. We can tell them what we know, but it's never stopping and saying, I need to hear their heart. What are they trying to say? We reply with the intent of what was in our heart.
Yes. And we know best, and we have the truth, and they don't have the truth because they're on the other side. And so when people do this, they make everything black and white.
Yeah.
There's no gray areas, right? There's no reason, there's no way that they could even be a tinge wrong, or we could. And so as we go into part 3 of this series, we're going to be talking about David and King Saul and how we can be acting like King Saul, or we can be acting like David as Saul is chasing him over the hills. And we're also going to be talking a little bit more about the people who were spying on Yeshua Messiah. And I want to just end with this because I think it goes a little bit with everything we've been talking about. I was sitting outside. I had a lovely friend come visit, and I have a tree, and it grows beautiful white blossoms, and they come in a bouquet. And now that I'm living in Florida, there's all these tropical trees with the most beautiful flowers I've ever seen. And I was sitting in one rocking chair, and she was sitting across from me where the bouquet was all around her head. And she said, "Bonnie, have you smelt these?" And I said, "Well, I mean, I'm sure probably with the breezes blowing." And she goes, "No, Bonnie, have you smelled these?" And she says, "Get up and walk over here, Bonnie." So she made me get up. I didn't feel well. I was like, okay. She put the bouquet in my face, and I have never smelt an aroma that beautiful in my life. We both were just like, so then we had to go get our husbands, smell this flower, smell the aroma of this flower, right?
Yes.
But now that she made me smell it, when I'm sitting in my chair across from it, I smell it now. So before I was made to stand up, draw near it, and inhale its perfume, I was not able to really smell it. And so,
yes, you had to come face to face with this aroma. You had to see it, feel it, understand it. Yes, it goes back to us in our hearts. There's a sweet aroma we all carry. We all have this spark of life. We need to make room for others and not just ourselves.
Yes, exactly. So on that note, we hope you all are enjoying this gardening twisting series, and we'll see you again. Shalom.
Bye.